Howdy everybody, Colorado Biker here again, and coming today with another video. Today I'm going to talk about something that I would say is probably one of the most important preps you can do, and that would be water. Yeah, that's probably the most important one that you could prep for, and we got plenty of it around us right now in the form of snow and melt. But it is incredibly important. So that's the one thing that you should probably be ready for. A first step is know how to purify water. Know how to get water when you're just about anywhere and make it clean and safe to drink. There's a lot of waterborne diseases out there, especially if things go bad, that you're going to want to avoid. So you can find several different methods for doing it. You can do it chemically, like with bleach or with pool shock or iodine. There's all sorts of different methods to do it chemically. And of course you can do it what I call mechanically, and that's using a sand and charcoal filter and then boiling it. That's another good way of doing it. And that's probably the most basic method, is a mechanical filtration and then boiling. Even if you do treat it chemically, you probably should still boil it anyway. Plus that'll get rid of some of the chemicals anyway. They'll come out of the water when you boil it. They'll boil off, basically. Especially stuff like bleach and all that, it'll come out of solution. So you can do that. So that's, you know, having the ability to make water clean. Now the other thing that you can do to prep is to make your water storage. Now you can do this in numerous ways. There's all sorts of ways to store water. Really good way are the emergency bathtub bags. These things hold a couple 100 gallons, and it's a bag that you can keep in the closet. Emergency hits, you put it in the bathtub and fill it up with water. So, and then you'll have a pretty good supply. So basically you're going to want to have a supply of 1 gallon per person per day. That's just for drinking, okay? That's just to stay hydrated so you don't die of dehydration. It only takes 3 to 3.5 days before you dehydrate to death. So you need it. The only thing you need more than that is air. You got to breathe. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. The big threes is what I call them. So, but water is really important. Ah, it's pretty out today. It's very pretty. So that's the big one, is water. You really should have a supply of water. Store it. You know, you can get one of the bathtub bags. You can also get like those 5-gallon cubes. They have storage cubes. You can use milk cartons. The 1-gallon milk jugs, although the plastic, it does tend to take on a plastic flavor after a while. Glass is usually better, but it's breakable. So, and oh, another way of sterilizing water is putting it in a clear glass jar and putting it in direct sunlight for a day or two. The ultraviolet radiation from the sun will sterilize your water as well. So it's a UV system, and they use those in water purification anyway. So that's what we use in our system up here in the mountains. Is we have a reverse osmosis, which gets most of everything out, really. But then it goes through a high intensity ultraviolet light trap, that it basically, the high intensity UV bulb kills all the bacteria and everything in it. So it's a rapid oxidant, does it really quick. It's a really good way to do it. So anyway, you've got that way you can store water all sorts of different ways. I've even got a couple 55-gallon drums on my property that my roof acts like a giant rain catchment. That's another way. I've got them on the downspouts of my house. So I've got water collection. I got 110 gallons of water that it'll fill it up in one storm. It'll fill up both barrels really quick in one good storm. So I'll have 110 gallons. So there's 2 of us. So that's, about a month and a half of water for 2 people. So, but you can also store it other ways. There's big 375 and 275 gallon totes that you can get. You can get food grade plastic barrels, 55-gallon barrels. That's what I have for storing water. There's all sorts of ways to store water. So take a look around, see what works for you, and go with that. But be sure to have a way to purify it after you collect it or store it. So now, one thing that people always ask, does water go bad? No, water does not go bad. It's hydrogen and oxygen. That's it. H2O. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. The only thing it's going to do is evaporate into its constituent gases. It's just going to evaporate off into gas. The only thing that would contaminate it while being stored or anything is if it's an open container, and then you get airborne bacteria, airborne viruses, and fungus that gets into it, fungal spores and pollen and things like that. So, but if you filtrate and boil, you should be fine. Long-term storage, people have also noticed that at the bottom of the storage container, there is kind of a white stuff in the bottom, okay? That is minerals. That's minerals like calcium, magnesium, manganese, all the minerals that are in the water supply anyway. That's harmless. Actually, it's your mineral shot. So that's why, like, some places that have hard water, you store hard water for a long time, after a while the minerals start to precipitate out. They literally come out of the water and just fall to the bottom. So it's still perfectly safe to drink. It's actually better. It's actually better because it's, well, been softened naturally. You don't have to add salt or run it through a salt system to soften the water to get the mineral content down. So, but water, it really won't go bad. The only thing that, other than the precipitation that you'll see from the minerals, is they don't have an odd smell or flavor. And that's from the storage container that you're storing it in. The perfect thing to store it in is, well, basically glass. Glass will not impart any flavor or anything else to it, but plastics will leach some of the plastic into it. Things, you know, like PCBs, or what was the other one? There was one that everybody was getting all upset about that it was in, like in baby bottles and like that. But it'll just give it an odd flavor. But that's it. It's just whatever you store it in, and it'll take on that flavor. Is, you know, really small, minute particles dissolve in the water from its container. So these are essentially harmless. It's a very low concentration, unless you're storing it in a really bad plastic or something. Ooh, we got a better view of Pikes Peak today. Oh, look at that. You can see for a long way today. It's a lot clearer than it was the other day. A lot clearer. Here's Pikes Peak way off in the distance, way over there. Okay, anyway, so the water will just pick up the flavor of whatever you're storing it in. Now, if you're storing it in something like carbon steel or something, you may also get some rust. You may get some iron oxide. That's fine. That's actually good for you. It's an iron supplement. So you don't really have to worry about that. That's not a big deal. It may give it a funny flavor or a funny taste, or it might be a little bit off color. But once again, that's where you can mechanically filtrate it out using sand and activated charcoal, or just charcoal. And then you boil it and it should be fine. And that should get rid of most of the contamination. So water, it's important. Ooh, it's getting windy. Yeah, it gets really windy up here. We had hurricane force here about a week and a half ago when a snow blizzard came through. That was nasty. We had 100-mile-an-hour winds up here. So anyway, the other way that you can do it, if you really want to get rid of all that, you can use a pressure cooker, some copper tubing, and some fittings, and make your own still. And you can make distilled water, and that will give you the purest form of water, because it turns to vapor and then back into water again. So you can do that, and that's a great way to purify water as well. And it gets rid of most of the flavor and the color and all that, and it's left behind in the what you call it, pressure cooker. So just be careful when using a pressure cooker, okay? They can be dangerous. So, but that's the basics on water so far. So find a way to store some up, find a way to purify it, something that's going to work for you. And don't just rely on one method. Have several methods for purifying and, you know, making water drinkable, potable, okay? And you will be okay. So water does not go bad. That's one thing that I've heard. Oh, the water went bad. No, it doesn't go bad. It just gets contaminated. So that's an important one. So think about what you're going to do with water, where you're going to put it, how you're going to make it clean, how you're going to be able to drink it, and also what you're going to do with it when you're done with it. That's another thing. If you're using it for cooking or for washing yourself or something like that, think about how you're going to dispose of gray water or wastewater, because how you dispose of it can determine whether or not you're going to transmit disease or anything like that, or create a, you know, a puddle for mosquitoes to breed in or something like that. So, but that's about it on water. So I can go over more of these. If you have any more questions or comments, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer them down below. And I'll be back in a couple of days, or tomorrow maybe, with another chat, another walk around the neighborhood. And that's about it for now. Remember, until next time, keep on prepping.